Okay, I bought some white paint the other day. I'm going to show you what we are doing. I'll meet you on the other side. Okay, what I had done here, this is all going to get painted white, this is going to get painted white, and this is going to get painted white. Now if you come inside here, you see where I put the Luan for the ceiling. And I also put some Luan, I had wedged it in here, a little over inch and a half, all the way through here. That kind of hides the bent over nails from the mending strips and so on. And what's going to happen here is this whole thing's going to get painted white. I was going to paint this white first and put it up, but there was too many times I had to bring this up and down and get it lined up and everything else, so it wasn't possible. So we're going to have to paint on the overhead. I'm going to paint this white and paint it white into here, inside here. We're not sure what we're going to paint. If we're going to paint these white or redwood, I'm not sure yet. Over here, the same way. It gets painted white. Now up here, there's going to be a molding that's going in here. It's one of these plastic white moldings, similar to the ones I've used in the bathroom for the flooring job. Anyways, that's going in there, but before we can do that, this has got to get painted white. And I'm going to have to put some cardboard or something here to keep the paint off of this. What I'm doing here is closing this off here so that I don't get paint all over everything. Because when I paint with a brush, or anything for that matter, I get more on things that should not have paint. Now I'm going to do this first in the molding, and then I'll work on this part here. I'm not sure whether I'll paint this white or not, but we'll worry about that after, because what I'll do is I'll stick cardboard in between here and keep the paint off of this. But right now we're working on this. We're going to be painting this whole shebang here. So just make sure that, alright, that's up there so that don't come down. And make sure that this is stuck in there. Matter of fact, I'm going to get some cardboard and shove it in there. Alright, here we go. Now in here, we're going to paint this, but in here, as I said, we're going to have a trim going across here, and then I'll fill the corners in afterwards. I don't like painting ceilings. I could have got one of those, I have one of those pads that you paint. That's what I used on my shed when I made that and painted it, but it's buried in the back of the shed somewhere on one of the shelves, and I have no idea where it is right at the moment. So we'll paint. I think 2 coats would probably be good for this. Now this whole thing, I'm going to paint it white right to ending right here for now. But it might get painted further down white. It'll either be redwood down here or white. I'm not sure yet. So a painter I am not, you know, but you know what I mean? But it's better than nothing. Gonna need 2 coats. Okay. So we're painting overhead. The brush fills up all the way down at the bottom. And then what happens is it gets all full in here, and then you have to throw the brush away because you can never can get that all cleaned out properly. And it usually runs down my arm sometimes too. It didn't do that today, but it will. We only got half the ceiling with the first coat, of course. Alright. And we got to paint there yet, and all the way around. Alright. I didn't buy a paint tray, roller tray. I meant to. So we'll just dip it in this paint can. This is big enough anyways to do the job. You know. It's only for the ceiling. It saves me some overhead paint strokes. And it's better on the brush because painting overhead, the brush fills up, as I said, along the base, and more paint runs down than what goes on the ceiling. Second coat's always hard to tell where you left off. First coat you can plainly see woodpecker. What we're doing here, of course, we're doing a second coat, as I had mentioned. It's very hard from my eyesight to see where I left off on this. But I think I covered it. I don't claim to be a good painter, just a half-ass painter. That noise you're hearing in the background is our woodpecker. Our woodpecker! It's in the backyard over there on one of those trees. We established that I'm gonna be painting these white. And then everything from here down will be redwood. And this area here, I'm going to accent it and paint it redwood. The rest of this will be white down to here. If this don't look good with redwood on this section here, I will paint over it. But I'm trying to figure out a good color scheme for this. Advantage too of painting this white inside, more reflection of course for the light, the outside light, which believe me will get changed once I'm all done working with the paint and everything in here. If I had chipped a new one in here, I would have had it broken or painted off or damaged in one way or another. But if something could get broke, it will get broke. And there she goes. Now, we already got one coat on here, so there's a second coat, but we're going to be painting this, so this is going to be the first coat for this. But when I put the second coat on, all I do is just put cardboard in here. I won't need this drop cloth. That's only for the ceiling. And, yeah, I better just hit that a little bit more here. It's very hard for me to see where I left off. I pretty well covered it all, but there's always a section that, the pad runs dry, and you still see brush marks. As I said, this is not a piece of furniture, it's just a deck. Or a porch, I guess you could call it now. Well, I got it all painted. There's two coats on here. I got the new light in. And the only thing I got to do is to put the trim in here. It's got two coats on here, so I got to put the trim in here and then take care of these two corners over here. I got to put another coat on the posts. I've got two coats on the ceiling and I got two coats on here, but I don't have two coats on here yet. I decided I'm going to probably paint these redwood. I'll leave these white. I'm just going to paint these here redwood. This is an afterthought that I'm doing right now. I figured, well, I thought perhaps that I could just leave this white. It would match it, but it kind of don't look right. So I'm going to take and paint that redwood. And I'm also thinking of taking a 2x4, the length of this, right down to here, and also to here, to make a wider railing. And the reason for that is when I'm coming in and carrying stuff in like groceries and stuff, there's not much area here. See, this here is an 8-inch. This is a 7.5 inches, a 2x8. But now we're down to a 2x4, and that leaves us with very little and easy for stuff to fall off. So if I take and put a 2x4 right here, that gives me a wider railing. I can round this off, or I can come out to here with it and round it off here. Not sure how I'm going to do that yet, but anyways, that brings me out. This is about 2 inches in here, approximately. This is 1.5 inches thick, of course. This leaves me about 1/4 here, so it's about 1 3/4 inches. Now I can either rip down a 2x4 and make it flush. Too much work. Too much work. I'm not going to do that. On that small table saw I got. So what I'm going to do is we're going to just make a wider rail here. Down here I'm going to paint it redwood, starting here all the way down. The rails will be red. Here you'll notice I put the second coat on. I've got some caulking I got to do yet, but it's cloudy today and it was kind of drizzling today, so I won't attempt to do that. I just painted this yesterday, so we're just barely 12 hours ago. So, and I got another coat to go on here. We got 2 coats on here, but I only managed to get 1 on here and 1 on here, so we're gonna do that. And then I got to work in here because I messed up on the wood up here. There's a sheet on top of this, but I cut off the bottom piece. I miscalculated, so I'm going to fill that in. This is why I'm no carpenter. So as you can see, it came out pretty good. And we're not too worried about those nails coming through there up in here. We did have an issue after I put this Luan on here. We had quite a big issue here with this door, and I wasn't figuring on that. Scraping over here on the ceiling. It no longer does that. Because I jacked this deck up as high as I could get it, about 3/4 inch, and the thickness of the shingles is pushing right up against the lower part of that aluminum right there. So I had to raise the deck up. There was no other option. It's amazing. I didn't figure for this door. It wasn't hitting the joist. It was only because I added the 1/4 inch Luan to it that it caused the problem here. I rounded off the corner of the door. You can probably see that. That helped a little. And raising the deck, well, that did the rest of it. You can see where I put the blocks. Pressure treated all the way around. I raised it up. Naturally, I had to take the lag bolts and loosen them up. So that I could jack it. Overall, I think everything came out okay. Now I'm going to probably paint this all redwood here, and I'm undecided whether I want to close this in or not. I'm just trying to visualize in my old farty brain here. Would this thing look better closed in on the X's on the redwood part and painted all redwood, or would it look better just to be left the way it is, except for this white part? This white part on the bottom sill will be painted redwood to match the rail. if I close in the X's with plywood and paint that redwood, trying to visualize if that would look appropriate. It would also keep a lot of wind-blown rain out on the lower part, and you'll get less coming in. And then if I ever do want to go with windows, I can still do that in the future. So this is kind of like a decision I've got to make, or who knows, maybe somebody out there might be able to decide for me or give me some ideas. This piece here is needed to support that and keep the angle right. So if I leave this open, this is a eyesore right here. If I close this in with plywood right from here all the way to here, which is 8 feet, that would take probably 3/8 inch, maybe even 1/4 inch Luan would do it, because I'll put a nailer at the bottom, pressure treated at the bottom of course, here, and a little nailer up in here, and a little nailer in here, so that the plywood would be solid, and then you can nail the plywood to this. Then paint that solid redwood. Then with that closed in, this can just be painted to whatever the interior is going to be, which will probably be redwood also. And as I said, I'm going to paint this here, the sill, redwood. I had originally thought that it may look good white, but the more I look at it, no. I want this redwood, leave the post white. And we certainly don't want the whole deck white. That would not look good. You can even see the dirt on here from the cat sitting up here and dirtying it up. So I picked up 2 gallons of this. They're discontinuing it at Walmart, $13.88 a gallon. I've never used siding and fence barn paint, but it matches perfectly with the redwood that I've got. And at $28 a gallon for Home Depot's cheapest stuff they got, I wasn't going to pay that. Not when I can get it for 14 bucks a gallon. Okay, I added the 2x4 here. Gives me a little overhang. And I didn't allow for the damn blade edge. I measured exactly, but the blade width, I should say. So I was going to have to caulk that. Maybe I'll shove a piece of shaving in there and put some caulking in. But like I say, this is why I'm no carpenter. If I was, things like this would not happen. Okay, finishing touches here. I just put this trim up here. Now I got to come with the caulk, and I got to fill up these little nail holes all the way down. And then I'll worry about these corners later over here on each end. No big deal. So I'm going to caulk it now, and that'll be it. We'll continue. We may have more to do here. Not a lot more. And as I said, I'm undecided about putting plywood and what color to paint it. I'll probably paint it redwood, but I don't know how well it will look. So anybody got any ideas out there? Whether I should just leave the bottom open as it is, or close in the bottom parts, the crisscrosses, with plywood and paint that redwood along with the bottom part of the deck. Give me some ideas. I'm open for suggestions.